I definitely talk to the REO agent that's comfortable with that area
Yeah.
and ask them right from the horse's mouth because again, you don't know whether you're getting a brand new REO, I mean a BPO agent,
Yep.
because there are people who sign up for these BPO services and they may have been doing them for 3 months,
Or they're an assistant that's just trying to learn, like, hey, just go ahead and do these things. Run AVM, take a couple pictures, and we'll pay you some money.
Right, exactly. Or maybe there's somebody who says, hey, you know what? I'm just going to look at the tax records and see what their appraised value is, and I'll bring in the comps around there.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. You can't really
having
do
that conversation is really key. I found both ends of the spectrum. I've had BPO agents that were REO agents that were, well into their 60s and 70s that were wealth of knowledge and extreme experience. On the other end of that spectrum, I've had the 30-year-old, guy that's hungry and just is looking for business and he'll go the extra mile because he's trying to prove himself. So I've had it all over the map. And so having that conversation is really, really important.
It really is. I mean, there's nothing like a good relationship with a agent with boots on the ground.
Yeah. It's amazing because they have not only they have the values they can tell you, but they also have the connections, which are huge, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always surprised by people who are BPOs because then you need more. You need more information. You're like, oh wait, I need to know. Thing like that. I'm curious too, when you are looking at these BPOs and working with the agents with that, are pictures different? Do you find that you take different pictures because you have an investor mindset versus REO other BPOs, or are pictures based on the order pretty much take a picture of the street label, take a picture of the house, take a picture of the roof kind of angle?
Right. No, they're very, very systematic. Okay. So it's a left side of the house, front, right side of the house, address verification, to street, street looking each way. Okay. And if there's something that needs to be seen, then you can add extra. Like, we just did one yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a substation within 300 feet of the house. And it's a big electrical substation, and the lot across the street had all kinds of what we call personal property and debris. Okay. Boats on trailers and just coolers and trash and stuff like that. That's a big issue, So you take a picture of that as well because it affects the value or the perceived value of the property from the eyes of a buyer.
Yeah. And I know, Mick, I've talked to you about before. My 2 steps is I reach out to all the investors I have local to a property based on the county. And I also reach out. I have my portal where I can find REO agents and I email them, call them, whatever I can, get a hold of them, because I'd rather trust an REO who's busy and say, hey, listen, give me 30 seconds. What do you know about this area? And if you can fill out some more information later, great. But the REO agent's like, listen, don't go to this area. We can't get contractors. I mean, like, that's another piece of the puzzle where, like, you can't get solid contractors. I don't care how good the value of the property is. If you have to do any work on it, you're kind of in a bad spot. Or it could be like, listen, there's a Walmart going down the street or a Boeing's moving in, right? And this property value is going to go up, FYI.
That's right.
One of the caveats that I ran into, and you have to be really careful when you do these phone calls, is that you just be careful how you word this stuff if you do call agents. I did run into a time where I called an agent and ended up being a sister-in-law of the borrower. So it was, but if I ordered a BPO, she probably would have gotten it anyway, and it is what it is, right? But it was good intel, like, oh, that's my sister-in-law's house, that's my brother's house. What's going on? I'm like, listen, we don't know what's going on. We're just looking. And he says, oh, no, he lost his job and he just got a new one. He started working 2 weeks ago. They're probably going to be catching up. Oh,
cool.
Good to know.
Inside information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it never hurts to pick up the phone, call and talk to people.
Yeah.
It really does.
Are there times where in your job doing BPOs or even valuing properties that you find it extremely difficult, besides the strange properties, where you just can't value it well?
Yeah.
And what do you do then?
You do the very best you possibly can, and just remember what you're there for. Okay, giving an evaluation based on like properties with like demands. Okay, I mean, it doesn't just have to look the same. All right. Some of the stuff that we keep into consideration is, some people like an HOA and some people don't. They don't like subdivisions with HOAs. So if we're looking at a property without an HOA and there's not very many comps within that area, okay, we stay within the same county, same school district if possible.
Wow.
Without an HOA. Okay, and we try to catch as many parameters as possible to try to identify the valuation based on some of the demands, like no HOA and within that school district.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it can be very difficult sometimes, and I mean, when you hit a property with a double wide mobile home on 37 acres. Okay. Now we're looking at a thing where we're going to have to do some adjustments.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's amazing. Yeah. That we're doing. Yes, Nathan, sorry. I think for me, knowing what I know now, I'd rather work with an REO agent and an investor and get their mindset where things are. One of the ways we do it, we actually have a Facebook directory into our portal. You can find other investors. Please don't blast email people. They're there to connect with people who live in a certain area, to network with them for note investing, if they live local to you, but also if they live local to a property, use that directory or post in a Facebook group, find people local to that property, and you're going to get information. They may know. I may reach out to, Mick, and he's not an REO agent. He may say, listen, Dave, here's my value, but my buddy here is an agent. Let me call him up. He'll pull some comps local to the property, and you get better knowledge. Sure. And what you used to also get when you hook up with an investor, and if you have some relationship with them, they'll go out and take pictures and give you kind of a sense. Because most investors live 10 minutes from the property. They can run out real quick and take a picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these small towns, here's a little thing I learned from our mentor. Okay. He told us one time, if you're in a small town and you got really nobody to work with, call the fire department. Call the fire department, because the guys right there at the fire department love to help people. They know the town very well. And chances are they're going to be driving by that property. Just have them snap a few pictures and tell them, hey, listen, I'll send 30, 40 bucks into your fireman's fund. If you can just send me some snapshots of the condition of the property and just give me a little bit of information about the area.
Yeah.
They're usually pretty happy to do so. I did that in Marysville, Ohio, and the guy was just ecstatic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice? Mick does teach at note school and stuff like that as well. What would you give the advice to somebody who's starting out and getting these BPOs? What should they watch out for? What should they do? They may not have the network we have,
right.
But should they be looking at any part of that BPO, the notes, the pictures that really kind of tell them, listen, back off or jump on it, right?
Yeah. Use your common sense and logic. Okay. Great question, Dave. Great question. I mean, because that's pretty much the meat and potatoes of looking at a BPO. As I said before, you're looking at a BPO to gauge your valuation, but you should also be evaluating that BPO to see if it's something that you can rely on.
Yeah.
Okay? I look at a BPO as establishing bumpers, high and low. Okay. I'm not gonna get a pinpoint valuation, but I'm going to establish pretty much a high and low off this BPO. Okay. Look at your comps and what you're comparing to. Are you looking at a 2-story well-maintained home versus a single-story ranch? Okay. Sometimes that's acceptable. Sometimes it's not.